Good afternoon.
Welcome home to Unity.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm Janice Griffith, for those who don't know me, one of 4 licensed Unity leaders here. And Susan Liddell and Barb Buchanan, both licensed Unity leaders, will be joining me as we celebrate the long and interesting life of Laurel Sanderson. Laurel's family and friends also welcome you and thank you for helping us celebrate today. This morning, we all at Unity have a devotional called Daily Word. And this morning, when Kevin opened it, he said, well, my goodness, Mom chose the Daily Word for today. And she told us this is what we need to read first. And the Daily Word for today is Divine Feminine. The scripture basis is she opens her mouth with wisdom, and the teaching of kindness is on her tongue. That came from Proverbs 31. And we always have an affirmation that goes along with our daily word, and this one is, I honor the glory of the divine feminine in the world. Today, I appreciate the many ways the divine feminine expresses in the world. I also honor the girls and the women of the world and the unique ways they share that divine feminine through their talents and gifts. From the softness and gentleness of nurturing love to the strength and toughness of fierce protection, the divine feminine blesses each person it touches and every aspect of life. The world is healed and uplifted through the contributions of all those who bring the divine feminine to life. It is in the unexpected grace I receive when I need it most. It is in the strength of a friend who helps carry my burdens, and in the love of a dear one who gives me a safe place to be myself, no matter what. I feel God's presence in the divine feminine's many manifestations. So perfect to remember Laurel. Let us begin now with prayer. Divine Spirit, we breathe together now and come together in community to celebrate the life of Laurel. We appreciate this wise woman who led a rich and vibrant life as wife, mother, intellectual, writer, artist, and traveler. We're grateful that she moved here to Iowa in her winter years and shared her bright smile, the twinkle in her eye, and her wit in storytelling. We affirm that family and friends will be blessed by many happy memories of time spent with Laurel. We send her spirit on its way with this poem that I've written about going home. Tiny, naked at first birth, a wisp of soul struggles along that dark passage into the light of home. Our faces turn upward toward heaven, our eyes searching the murky depths of sorrow. And there, illuminated by darkness, lovely scattered by the hand of God, millions of stars brighten the night, welcoming a child of God, Laurel Sanderson, back to the home of souls. And so it is. Amen.
Amen. It's a lavalier mic, it picks up everything, right? Hello, everybody, and welcome. Thank you to all of you. I want to welcome you on behalf of our family, both of all of you who came here and everybody online. Appreciate that very much. Okay, let's see if this works. Wait a minute, there you go. Laurel, Phyllis, Mathieson, Crumvita, Sanderson. Now there's a story. And as you all know, Mom loved to tell stories. So we're going to tell her story today. That way. All right, let's try it again. There we go. Mom was born on November 16th, 1930, on the North Dakota prairie in a sandstone block house built by Jacob Sebastian Mathieson, her great-grandfather, in the late 1880s on Section 12, Morton County, North Dakota, near the town of New Salem, which is a little bit west of Bismarck. Mom was the second daughter of her parents. There it is. Whoop, back up, back. Nope, let's go again. There. Her parents, Bernhard and Evelyn Bly Mathieson, and she was the second daughter. Two brothers would follow. I know. There we go. There they are in all their glory. That's my mom on your left, and behind the little tyke is Aunt Bernadine, and the little guy in front is Uncle Dennis, and the guy off to the right is our Uncle Noel. And they are all great people. So, Mom's parents were farmers. And when Mom was old enough, she helped with the farm chores. One story she liked to tell was when she helped Daddy fix a piece of equipment. Technology is wonderful when it works. Yeah, I did it. Yeah, okay. You see this piece of machinery in the background. It might be a little hard to see, but you see it's an old combine and there's a chute. You see that chute there on it? Okay. The chute needed to be repaired and needed to be riveted. Well, he didn't have arms long enough to reach clear up inside of that and hold the arm on the other side to get the rivet. So Mom, who was kind of small at the time, was recruited to go into that chute. So he gave her a small hammer and had her crawl up the chute. And when she got to the point where he put a rivet in, she was told to hold the hammer very tightly against that rivet, and then he hit it. Whang! Wang, 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 wang. Mom said the noise was deafening, but she didn't complain. After a few rivets, he was done, and he helped her get out of the chute. She said she did not do that again. Her siblings and she were involved in farm chores like milking cows, hoeing the garden, and shocking bundles of wheat. She described this one time. There we go. You'd be out in the fields, and one of the things you do is run a binder through the wheat fields. This is my grandpa and Uncle Noel on the tractor. And it cuts and shakes it down and ties all of these wheat stems into bundles and then kicks them out the back. And you follow along and pick up the bundles and stand them up so that the tops of these sheaths are standing up like this. And you'd shock them into small teepees. There you can see the rows and rows of wheat bundles shocked up. And then those were laid down, and the crew would come down and take those to the threshing machines to thresh all the grain out of it and keep the straw out of it. This is in the 30s. So Carl's helping me out. He's relaying the signal for me. This is section 12, looking east. Let's see, sections are, I don't know, about 1,000 acres, if I remember right, something like that. 680, somewhere in there. So this was the northwest corner of that section. And their house used to stand about in front of where the woman in the turquoise, a top and white bottom, is standing. And that's looking west. And that's a landmark near New Salem called the Big Hill. And it was on the Matheson property. And the sandstone for the house I showed you earlier came off of that hill. Jacob Sebastian Matheson was a stonemason, so he knew what he was doing. So 2 of my mom's values were developed during this time on the prairie. Family, she was part of a large extended family, and work. You worked. Those 2 values were foundational, moving her through many of her life's challenges. The epitome of these 2 values is her creation of the Matheson family genealogy, which you have out on the table there, a work honoring her family. 3 volumes. 3-inch binders. Legal outline. And within the genealogy are stories that she asked family members to contribute. And one of the things she wanted to get done with that genealogy, she wanted to get the pictures in there. Then it would have been 7 volumes. I think she worked on this for about 10 years. And she really did a lot of digging. Mom attended 2 one-room country schools from 1st to 8th grade. It was here that she discovered her love of reading and learning. These 2 values, along with the value of work, helped her achieve academic and career success. Okay, farm life is a series of hardships punctuated with some success. I've often said that farming is the epitome of professional gambling. You're playing with huge numbers, right? Her parents married a couple of years before the Great Depression. The dirty 30s, as Mom called them, were a time of drought. Then the rain came around the 40s, and she started getting some decent crops, only to have them hailed out by the great white combine or grasshoppers. My grandpa and grandma suffered 3 crop failures in a row, and they couldn't recover from that. So they held an equipment sale. There it is. That was on the Waldy place, which was next door to the Matheson homestead. And that's the equipment sale. And that's not all the vehicles. There's more off the frame on the left. People were there. So they moved to the Black Hills of South Dakota, Spearfish, at the north end of the Black Hills. This is Lookout Mountain. It's on the north side of Spearfish. This view is pretty interesting because today, if I took a picture from the same spot, there'd be motels, restaurants, an interstate highway coming around the base of it. But back then, it was prairie. And it was called Lookout Mountain because Native Americans would use that to see if anybody was coming. If you climb up, you got a huge view of all the plains around. So Mom went from a one-room schoolhouse to that. And it took her a little bit of work to figure out what to do with this big old massive high school here. But she started her freshman year and did well and graduated, of course, with honors in 1948. And let's see, I got her. That's her high school graduation picture. Yeah. When they moved to Spearfish, my grandpa worked in a sawmill, but then after a while he hurt his back. My grandma was working in a dry cleaner's, pressing dresses and doing repairs on clothes. And when he was injured, they decided they'd throw in what they had into a small cafe, which was by Spearfish Park. And then they bought a larger cafe downtown Spearfish called the Airport Cafe. My grandparents were the epitome of resilience. Can you imagine that? Losing a farm, coming in, and he hurts his back in a sawmill, and now they're doing, that was their whole life. They just kept scraping away. Never heard them complain. Well, they may have, but not to me. My mom worked at this cafe. as a waitress. There she is. And this is where she met my dad. They dated. She said when she saw my dad, he was the handsomest man she'd ever seen. He was immediately smitten, and they dated for 3 years. Some people said that he looked an awful lot. Remember Hank Williams? Yeah, he looks an awful lot. And he also played in a country western band, but that's another story. They dated for about 3 years, and then they got married. And then they got married, and then, whoops, back up. And then we came along, my sister, Karen, and I. This is really... Mom said that Dad and she were smart enough to stop at 2. So, Mom and Dad eventually built a house which was right up next to my paternal grandparents' house. It was a pretty small structure. What was it, about 600 square feet? Yeah, right. So it was one main room and then 2 little bedrooms off of it. Cardboard partition. Yeah, it was small. So it had running water. I ran and got it. My chore was to go next door to my grandparents, who had a well, fill up a 5-gallon galvanized bucket and bring it back, and that was our water. And we had a bathroom. It just happened to be outdoors, down the slope a little bit. And a little bit about that bathroom, by the way, that outdoor privy. We went back to visit the property about the mid-'80s, I think it was, and we drove up there, and there's somebody that built a big house in front of our little house was gone, but the privy was still there, and the landowner was there. And he came up and said, the county inspects these things every year to make sure they're safe. And they just inspected this one, and they said it was the best built privy in Pennington County, 20 years after it had been put up. So, yeah. So, and we also were living there. That's my grandparents' house, and we're right off to your face to the right. And that's the background. This is on the edge of the Black Hills. Down below that was the best trout stream in South Dakota, Rapid Creek. And I looked and looked and looked for the picture to turn around and look south, and I could not find it. But just imagine you turn around, and there's this ridge of hills off and about half a mile distant. In between that and you is nothing but meadow. Just gorgeous. And that was our front yard, right? And there was a nice little hill in the middle of it for sledding in the winter and everything. So we had it good.
What's the date on that photo there?
60.
It's the August of 60, yep.
There's a fish hatchery down behind.
Yep. Yep, the Cleghorn Springs Fish Hatchery was there. So, Mom and Dad ended their marriage in 1962. Mom kept the property and gained custody of Karen and I, or me, excuse me. For the next 5 years, Mom took in ironing, worked as a checker at a grocery store, and worked at a local bank doing everything but being a teller. She took care of us during this time, making sure we were fed and clothed. She kept up with our education. She would read to us. My favorite book was A Wrinkle in Time. She didn't read junk. She was also involved in the Methodist Church, singing in the choir, was a Girl Scout leader, and a member of the PTA. That lesson in resilience learned from her parents stood her in good stead during this time. And then Mom met John Sanderson through Parents Without Partners. They married, well, boy, now it wants to be too frisky. They married in 1967, and she moved back to Whitensville, Massachusetts. Mom said she left behind, quote, absolutely everything that meant anything to me. That was a huge step. Karen and I stayed with Dad for a while, and then Karen went out with Mom, and I stayed to finish high school. When asked what led her to make such a momentous decision, she replied, I have discovered over time that when it comes to large decisions like that I just kind of put one foot in front of the other. And it isn't until years later that I realized that that was the best thing I could have done. She often stated that John encouraged her to pursue her education because he recognized that she had a good mind. By the way, John was a Harvard graduate. So Mom began her academic career at Quinsigamon Community College in Worcester, Massachusetts. It took me 3 years to learn how to say that. And she graduated in May of 1977. She then transferred to Clark University, major university back east, earning her Bachelor's of Science in Business Administration, summa cum laude. She then continued at Clark, obtaining her Master's of Business Administration in May of 1987. There she is, getting her master's. So why 10 years and all that in between? There's 10 years. Because she's working full time while she's earning these degrees. Mom's master thesis is The Psychology of the Salary Gap. This is in 1987. And I'll read the abstract here if you don't mind. Women, on average, earn approximately 69% of men's average earnings. Many reasons are given for this gap, most of them putting the responsibility on women for its existence. Oh, I knew I'd get a reaction there. A review of the literature reveals a psychological and mythological foundation resting in men and revealed as discrimination and abuse to be the underlying cause of this gap. In order to remedy the salary gap, a non-exhaustive list of remedies to be applied by managers is included in her thesis. All right, so a little while ago, I found out that the winner of the 2023 Nobel Memorial Prize in Economic Sciences, Claudia Golden, wrote, "Women are vastly underrepresented in the global labor market, and when they work, they earn less than men." She won a Nobel Prize for that. Gee, Mom was onto that 35 years ago. Hello, Nobel Committee? When Mom was asked what advice she would give to young women, she emphatically replied, "Get your education." She saw education as a way to be independent and be free. And she did that. So while Mom was accomplishing her academic goals, she was working full-time at a mainline insurance company, State Mutual, which morphed eventually to Hanover Insurance. She started off in the secretarial pool. Mom was an excellent typist. I think she ripped off 80 to 90 words per minute, no mistakes on a word processor. When you heard her type, it was like a machine gun going on. And I got to 35 and I went out and celebrated, you know. She became an executive secretary for a vice president in the company who was very impressed with her and made sure that she was kept at the highest salary level. He even put her past the usual salary level at times. This gentleman was having some difficulty with his bosses, so she learned all the departments that he was in charge of. Went down and learned them from the ground up, what they did, what the purpose was, all the stuff that had to be done. And she did his reports for him, for which he got lots of praise. He didn't happen to mention that she was writing those reports, though, but she was okay with that. And he did share with her later how appreciative he was of her for doing that. She found out later that the reason he was having so much trouble, he was in the early stages of Alzheimer's. And the company, and I don't think he was even aware of that too much, but, you know, upper management didn't care, right? So she was very happy to help him out. She also worked for another person in the company as a documentation specialist, and this person and she have had a long relationship even after she retired. A really, really solid one. And you know who I'm talking about. Mom left full-time work when she was 60 years old, but then went back to work for the company as a part-time employee in a retiree program. She often told the story of when she was informed by letter that she and the rest of the part-time retiree employees were being let go, ostensibly a reduction in force. She checked around and found out that none of the other retiree part-time workers had received this letter. Smelling a rat, she went to the personnel manager's office and stated that while she was fine with following the new policy stated in the letter, if she came back 6 months later and saw the other retirees still working, she would be, quote, very unhappy. Mom said the personnel manager immediately got up from behind his desk, ran out of his office, and she thought, yeah, he went upstairs and said, we got trouble. She was informed later that the policy had been rescinded, and she worked until she was 75 years old. Don't mess with Mom. Mom had many interests besides work. She was an avid reader. She was interested in oil painting. In fact, she was so interested, she set up art lessons in the company so she could have a place to learn oil and have everybody else learn it too. This sailing ship up here is one of her works. But this other painting, that's a special one. See, it went to sleep. I didn't poke buttons. There it is. That's the Bly Farm barn on my grandmother's home place. And Mom painted this from a picture she took. I think this is spring in North Dakota. Yeah. Mom had a special place in her heart for this picture, so we're going to hang on to this. And we have a reunion coming up in North Dakota in a couple of months, and I'll take that along. Mom enjoyed traveling. She went to Hamburg, Germany, where she met my sister, who was over there at the time, and they visited the German state of Schleswig-Holstein, and that's where all our Matisse ancestors came from. Yep, Denmark at the time. She traveled, there we go. She traveled to Florence, Italy to visit Corinne, who was participating in the semester abroad program from Lake Forest College. Now, what art major really wants to go to Florence? The light is different there, isn't it? Yes, it is. So some of you know Florence, and it has a beautiful cathedral called Il Duomo. Oh, come on, back up. Nope, too far. There we go. No. There! My goodness, this is the... Okay. So I don't have a picture of El Duomo, but if you can imagine, it's a huge cathedral, huge. And the dome is what, 400 feet or 500 feet above the ground? And there's like, 17,000 stairs to get up to it. Seemed like it. I'm going to... That's at the top of the dome. Yeah. She traveled to nearly every state in the Union. She was an art film buff. She audited classes at Clark University after she completed her master's because she loved to learn. After Mom and John divorced in 1976, Mom moved in to a one-room apartment located just a few blocks from the insurance company and lived there until moving to Cedar Rapids in 2022. She lived in her apartment for 46 years. Third floor, no elevator. Went down to the first floor to do her laundry, which was located by the storage area. She often walked to work. Groceries and gas were close. She drove a Ford Mustang for several years. She was quite happy and very independent in her little refuge from the world. After her second fall in as many months in 2022, Mom was adamant about returning to her apartment. I'm going, huh? It was clear that this was no longer an option, but she would not hear of any other option. So attached was she to her apartment. Then during a call with me, she said, quote, "Kevin, my higher power tells me that I should move out your way." I went, "Oh, okay, Mom, consider it done." Hung up. Barb and I went running around and found the Meadowview and Ridgeview place. I called Karen. She got organized on the move, and then Karen and I flew out there and got down to getting her ready to move. She was in a nursing rehabilitation center at the time. So Mom had already given quite a few things away, which made the move a little easier. A little easier. Then on June 29th, 2022, Mom left Worcester, the place where she had lived the longest in her life, and started her next adventure in Cedar Rapids in the professional and loving care of the staff at Ridgeview Assisted Living and Meadowview Memory Care Village. I want to pass on our family's heartfelt gratitude for your love and care of our mother. And I also want to give a shout out to Hospice of Mercy, who gave my mom a lot of comfort in the last couple of weeks of her life. Mom passed away on Thursday, January 23rd, 2025. She talked about 2 ways she would die. One was putting on warm clothes, good walking shoes, and then walking north until she fell off the edge of the earth. Well, she used to live in North Dakota. You could see it from there. I mean, the second was getting cozy warm in her bed, rolling over, going to sleep, and not waking up. And she chose the second. She shared a description of what death would be like. She said you would walk across a black body of water. As you walked, all the negativity you held would flow out of you into the water until none was left. As you continued to cross the body of water, you would see on the shore all who had gone before, waiting joyfully for your arrival. That was her vision of it. So, Mom was an astute and accomplished woman. Throughout her life, she followed her values of hard work, learning, family, and doing your best. And, like her parents, she was resilient. One more story. One day when I was playing baseball with my friends, she walked by on her way home from work and loudly said, "Sunshine, dinner will be ready in about an hour." Well, my friends leapt all over me for her addressing me as Sunshine. You know how cruel middle school kids can be, right? Yeah. When I got home, I told her that she embarrassed me in front of my friends when she called me that. Well, she agreed. She didn't call me that again in front of my friends, but continued to use this term of endearment when addressing me. Later, when I was in the Navy, I began to sign off my letters with a quick drawing of the sun, which I continued doing until she passed. This pleased her no end, and she would share this story with others in my presence. So, Mom, one more time.
Not yet. No, you're next.
No.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Too many chiefs.
Wow.
Some glad morning when this life is o'er, I fly away to a home on God's celestial shore, I'll fly away. I'll fly away, oh glory, I'll fly away. When I die, hallelujah, by and by, I'll fly away. Just a few more weary days and then I'll fly away to a home where joy shall never end. I'll fly away. I'll fly away, oh glory, I'll fly away. When I die, hallelujah, by and by, I'll fly away.
As Janice said in her opening prayer, Laurel was a woman of wisdom. And our daily word also talked about that. Isn't that interesting? So in the Bible, the name Sophia appears in many passages of the Old Testament as the female personification of wisdom. So I've chosen a reading from Joyce Rupp's book, Prayers to Sophia, who took these ancient writings and transformed them into prayers. This is entitled Grief and Loss. Companion of the sorrowing, bind your love strongly, fiercely, to the memories of my loved one that are stored within me. May they never wear out when death grows distant. I want to forever honor and cherish the goodness of my loved one's life. Guardian of the grieving, lift up my sad heart. Let me find laughter in the midst of my loss. Let me find hope in the midst of my sadness. Let me find comfort in the midst of my emptiness. Let me find meaning in the midst of my confusion. Let me find you, ever vigilant beloved, as my shelter and my solace. Sustain my aching heart. And from Wisdom 8:9, therefore I determined to take her to live with me, knowing that she would give me good counsel and encouragement in cares and grief.
There we go. So we were talking with Kevin, and Laurel loved to sing at the Methodist church. And I grew up in the Methodist church also, and this was my favorite hymn there. So why don't we all stand and sing this together? Holy, 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 Lord God Almighty, early in the morning our song shall rise.
So this is the time in the service when we have the opportunity to share and to share memories and thoughts about Laurel. What does she bring forth when you think of her? So I know some people are ready and going to come up, so this is your time.
Hello. Oh, that's right. Hello. Try it again. Okay, so I had some thoughts about my mom-in-law. And she was very welcoming. So I'll set the background a little bit. I lived in San Diego area, and that's where I met Kevin. And my parents, my parents were in Indiana, and Kevin's mom was in Massachusetts. So we all met like 2 days before we got married, because, and I didn't know, well, I guess I talked to her on the phone and beforehand. But anyway, so we didn't, it's not like we lived across the street and we knew everybody at the time. So anyway, okay, so, and when you marry into a family, you never know what might be coming. And but Kevin's mom was very welcoming to me, and I felt really good about being in their family. And one time also, his grandmother gave me a present, or she said, I don't remember what she said, but anyway. And so I thought, wow, I'm not even a blood relative. And she said that I want this. So it's a mirror, and young people, do you know what that is? The little thing. It's for buttoning shoes, I believe, way back in the day. So I felt very special by her thinking to give me that. Wow. And and then one time, the first time we went back to visit his family, there was some laundry we needed to do, and so his mom took me down to the basement where the washing machine was, and she told me all about the settings on the washing machine, and she told me, this is how much soap you use, and every little thing. And I thought, wow, that's neat that that she wanted to be sure I had a good outcome, I guess. But I had been through college, and living on my own for 3 or 4 years. And I wasn't sure I needed all that help, but anyway, it turned out fine. So one thing also that I learned about their family was they were a family that held grudges. And I had never experienced that, but live and let live, right? You don't have to do it just because they do it, but that's how they operated in their family. That was something that stood out to me. Okay, the second thing was his mom was very strong. And as you can tell from what Kevin said, I just can't imagine, from the North Dakota one-room schoolhouse to an MBA in Massachusetts, I just respected her so much, and all that endurance and striving and everything, and taking advantage of opportunities as they came to her. And I didn't realize how much hardship and abuse she had survived. But so, like Kevin said, when I first met Kevin, he said, well, I grew up in a house with no plumbing and no running water, I was the running water. I said, oh, okay. Well, they're farther north, and they're just not quite as civilized as as people in the Midwest, you know. But, and this is in the 50s, but what I had not realized was that before they moved to that place, they had been in a house with electricity, washer and dryer, running water, plumbing, and everything. So no wonder she wasn't too happy with that situation, you know? My goodness. And so, but it didn't seem any obstacle or challenge. Didn't seem to slow her down much, you know. She just kept going and going and going and higher, higher, higher. And the last thing I thought about was she was very generous with us. And she was, this is back in, 70s, way back in the 70s. And so everybody just didn't have a phone in their pocket. Making calls was expensive, and that was a business deal. You didn't make calls to your best friend and talk for an hour about blah, blah, blah. So she wrote letters and I wrote letters, and I tried to keep her up on what was happening with us, and she did the same. And she's visited also, about at least once a year, I'd say. So that was good, and it helped that her only grandchild was living in our house. But anyway, she liked to come and visit. And then she would very generous with her money too, because like at birthday time or Christmas or whatever, she said, I didn't live close to you guys, so I don't really know what you want, but she'd sent us a nice check. And you soon learned that you needed to cash that check pretty soon after you got it, or you'd be getting a phone call saying, I'm trying to balance my checkbook here, but your check isn't there yet. So I think I pretty much won the good lottery ticket, for having a mother-in-law like that. And I had a feeling that she liked me too. So early on, yeah, you could. I don't know. So I made her this banner and sent it to her. How blessed we are, how fortunate we've been that you are his mother and also my friend. And so she said, so when she was in the memory care, and she demanded that we take down all these pictures that she had painted and just enhanced her room so much. And oh well. So anyway, but she says, not that one. Don't take that one. I want to leave that one here in my room. So that made me think that she probably liked me pretty good. So I'll say 3 more things. She loved clouds. She loved clouds. Every time we'd take her out on the drive, she was always looking and looking and looking, and she always said she wanted to paint clouds, but I don't know if she ever got any painting that had too many clouds in it. And she loved, and she loved dogs. She had a soft place in her heart for dogs. And, but she didn't like trees very much because you couldn't see. From North Dakota, you couldn't see what was going on around you, so she didn't care for trees that much. But anyway, so that's a little snapshot of my mother-in-law.
Okay. Hi, everybody. So I was very lucky because I feel like I got the very best of my grandmother. She was in a place in her life when I was little that she was able to be kind, playful, and generous with me. And that was very lucky. I'm scared to try to use this. Let's see what happens. Do I do this? Anything? That way? To that thing? Okay, I'll just raise my hand or something. Oh, right there, let me see. Oh, I did it. So we have a 4 generations picture there, me being the little tyke, and then that's my dad, my grandma, and her mom. You can see that sometimes I was a little naughty. We had a little bit of a back and forth naughtiness going. You can see I'm trying to take her necklace, and she's trying to get it back. I remember when we lived in Montana, she came out to visit during Christmas time, and I remember it seemed like a million presents were under the tree. When I came out, I was just flabbergasted. It was the most exciting thing I had ever seen. So again, she was generous, and it was just different and very nice. We all went out for her graduation, and so that was nice that we were able to be there for that. Yeah, Karen and Chris and my mom and dad and I, and more family as well. Yeah, great-grandma, yeah. And so, you know, she was getting her master's here at this picture, and now I have my master's as well. I feel like she really modeled a lot of good things. That same time frame, since everybody was together, we surprised my grandmother and Chris surprised Karen with a wedding. She didn't know she was going to get married that weekend, but she got married anyway. And Grandma was in a fight with me. I said I wanted to be the flower girl, and she said no, she should be the flower girl because she had done it before, so she had more experience. And I said, no, you have to be the mother of the bride. I get to be the flower girl because I've never done it. And she said, no. But anyway, it worked out for the best. I did get to be the flower girl, and I was so happy. And I think she was happy too, as you can see in these pictures. Nope, maybe, okay, there. Another cool thing, and then everybody left except for me. I got to stay with Grandma for like a week or something, so we had a very special time there in Worcester together. One thing that happened at the Worcester, well, it changed its names multiple times, but they had a polar bear born in captivity. It was very special. And she had been telling me about this, and they had like a naming contest, and a bunch of people wrote in, and they ended up naming her Kenda. And she gave me, it's hard to see, but in the picture with the dinosaur, I'm holding a big white fluffy thing, and she gave me this giant polar bear stuffed animal. So when I spent the week with her, we did go to see Kenda in real life, and so that was like really cool. I remember she gave it to me when we lived in San Diego, and I remember the back of the car, we were unloading her things, and there was just like these paws kind of coming out of a bag, and I was like, okay, I don't know what's going on here, but it turned out to be this cool stuffed animal of Kenda that she had been telling me about. I also could not find either the painting or a picture of me, which I know exists because it's burned in my mind. But anyway, she let me paint my first oil painting on her balcony. This is not it. This is one of her beautiful paintings that hangs in my house. But that was so cool that she set me up with her oil paints, and I got to go out there and paint, and she showed me how to use like a painting knife and everything. So, you know, again, she showed that art was very important, and that was also a good model for me. We also did this thing where we made up these characters of the fairy princess and the fairy godmother. So I was the fairy princess and she was the fairy godmother, but we would like write little notes and like leave it for the other one to find or make each other little things. So that was something that continued, especially when I was younger, but even sometimes she would write like to the fairy princess or something on a card or something, you know, back and forth. And I would always make her things as well, so like little Christmas ornaments. Or when she was living here, one time I took her outside in the fall and we collected some nice leaves, and then I was happening to take a pottery class at Mount Mercy, and I pressed them into clay and then glazed them and gave that to her. So she did keep that in her room. So that was nice. So I'm glad that we got to do that together. It was nice to get outside and enjoy the beauty. She did like looking at nature and being inspired by the beauty around us. When I was really little, we went out to Massachusetts, and I got to see the Atlantic Ocean for the first time, so that's me jumping the waves there. And because she was my grandmother, Sanderson, I would call her Grand Sand. So one time when we lived in San Diego, I went and got that baby food jar, and I filled it with sand, and then I was very into like sequins and stamps and stuff at that time, and so I put star sequins in there, and so she still has it. So now I have it today. So she kept it all those years. Another part of her being generous is the picture. I think we're probably saying hello, or well, we're probably saying goodbye. She's probably leaving in this picture to go back home, but she came out and like took me shopping for school clothes for the new school year. I remember the clothes that I'm wearing, like we picked out together. She would call me helpless Hannah if I wasn't putting the clothes back on the hanger in a timely manner. She would like, and then she would do it. I'm like, I'm trying to get dressed, Grandma. So anyway, but it was very generous of her. She, to get me those clothes and get me set up. Okay, so here's the building that she worked in. So when she got divorced the second time, she moved into this one-bedroom apartment. It was close to where she worked, and it was an insurance. And actually, just before she was passing away, I was actually attempting to go into insurance. I've just recently decided it's not for me, but that was kind of a cool thing to feel like that's something that helped her, supported her in her time, and that it might support me, although I'm still okay. Anyway, but yeah, so it's just cool that was kind of happening at the same time. And then here's just some other pictures. The one on the left is when she came to visit me, and my parents did, and my cousin as well. They came out to visit me when I was in Florence. I think the top one where I'm in red is like my high school graduation. Down below, we had a family reunion in Texas, and we went to something, and we were posing with the mechanical bull. That's on our couch in San Diego. Oh, sorry. Oh, no. Okay. There. Wait, is that the last one? Okay, so, sorry, I'm going to go one more just because, okay, yeah, I thought so. We're just going to double check ourselves. Okay, I thought so, but thank you for hanging in there with me. So, yeah, then you can see when I had kids there, we've got, we went out to, when she was having a surgery, was that the surgery, Mama? We went out and helped her, you and I brought Amelia, but Sophia wasn't here yet. Then we have our family picture at Bart's farm here. A picture of my grandma and myself, and there was her in her apartment where she had a bunch of pictures and artwork that was important to her. Again, a little longer ago, and then going to Amana colonies, celebrating her birthday. Oh. I think it's just the light fixture. I think it's just the.
I'll clarify that. I was having an idea at the.
Oh yeah.
Looks like Burger King.
Yeah, we brought her over to my mom and dad's house, and when we were having like barbecue or something in the backyard, celebrating in the memory care facility in the ice cream social room. My house, I think that might be Amelia's birthday. And then going to concerts of the girls. She went to a couple of concerts of the girls when they're playing viola. And that one might be Easter or Mother's Day. It's a hard one to tell. And then, yeah, these were just this December. And then that's the picture of her when she became a member of the church. And she just looks so happy in that picture on the very far right. So, all right, thank you.
Anyone else? There you go. You need to be, so you can be on camera. So, yeah, okay, be up there.
Hi, everyone. Well, since Corrine mentioned the membership, when she became a member, I got to tell you my story. I think I was on the board at the time. And so we always have a board member that meets with everybody that joins, and you have the script of questions that you're supposed to ask. Well, I got Laurel. And I had a good time with Laurel that day. I surely did. So I'm trying to ask her these questions, but it was real hard to keep her on track. She told me stories. Oh my gosh. I can't really remember them, but she was telling me all about her life and you know, her maybe the last marriage. I don't know, but she told me some dark stories too, and I'm kind of freaked out a little bit. And I'd try to get her back on track. You know, well, can I ask you this? Well, then she'd go off again on something else. It took me quite a while to get through, but it was fun. I mean, she was just always, and then I remember after that, she always would recognize me, you know, after that encounter we'd had, and that big grin of hers, she'd just light up, you know, and when she'd see somebody that she recognized. And I got to tell you one little bit about that time, too. I had a roll of Smarties candies sitting on the table in front of me that I'm eating on. And she finally said to me, she says, well, I'd like to have one of those. I said, well, sure, take one. And she ate one, and then she made a face, and she says, well, I don't like them. I said, okay. Anyway, she was a delight. I always enjoyed talking to her.
First Sunday you brought Laurel to church, and she would always sit back there, and she was always so effusive with her praise of all the music and stuff. I just loved her. But the first Sunday, and I think she would want me to say this to everybody. Maybe she said this to some of you too. She said something like, you know, I think you're going to see an angel today. And I said, oh, really? How do I do that? Oh, she said, well, just look in the mirror. Time I saw her.
Anyone else? Brian.
I just wanted to say that Laura was just such a sweetheart. And when I first met her back here, I thought, well, there's a really smiley, wonderful older person. I didn't know it was Kevin's mother, but I shortly did. And then so she wanted to tell a joke, and she told the joke about the pony. I don't know if you heard her pony joke, but if you did, I won't repeat it, but you can find out about this, and it was really funny. And I think she repeated it quite a bit, so everybody. And so every Sunday she would see me, and she was so excited because she wanted to tell me this joke, and she told it to me every Sunday. And I was just delighted that each time it sounded fresh because she was excited to tell it again. And yeah, she just had a lot of stories to talk about in her life and her times, and just always in a positive manner, it seemed. So I really loved your mother. She was really cool.
Anyone else? All right.
Well, since we're talking about storytelling, my daughter and I both, as you see, use walkers, and she was in her wheelchair, and so we had all this wonderful time that we were waiting for our chauffeurs to drive up to the front door when we could have time to chat. And she told so many stories, and we both just enjoyed it so much. And when we found out that she had gone to memory care, we decided to take Kirsten with us when we went over there to visit her because they'd had so much fun visiting with each other. And when we were there, you know, memory care, you're not sure what you're going to, you know, is she going to even know us? Is it's going to be fun or not fun? But we all went, and we had a great visit. And one of the things that happened there, she had a lot of her things there. And Kevin says, well, you need to see this. And he brings over this book, it's a heavy book. And I thought, what in the world is this and it's big and I want to visit and I have to look at this book now. But you'll see it out there on the table. It was this green book and it was really heavy. And I thought, what is this? So I opened up the cover and it was Laurel's master thesis. And I said, and she had been serious that day, kind of trying to figure out what we were all chatting about. And I said, and it's not very big font, and it's a big book. And I said to her, my gosh, did you write all this? And then we saw that beautiful smile, that great big beautiful smile from ear to ear and that twinkle in her eye. Yep, for women. And I went, all right, girl, all right. So we saw that divine feminine again spark in her and that wisdom with all that stuff that she had written. And I have to just say one more thing since we're almost done here, but that vision she had of at the end of was from a poem that we often read with our oncology patients that said, there she goes, you know. But on the other side of the river, there's all these people waving, saying, it's about going in a boat and it disappears. There she goes. No, here she comes. Here she comes. And it was a poem that we read often. And I got to thinking about it as we were talking about Laurel, and I went, there she goes. And the other side is saying, watch out, here she comes.
Anyone else? All right. Thank you, everyone.
She was quite a woman. This is a farewell blessing to Laurel. Divine Spirit, receive our loved one, Laurel Sanderson, into your open arms, welcoming her into your eternal embrace. Let her spirit soar free, joining the stars and the sky in the endless dance of the universe. Comfort those of us who remain with the knowledge that Laurel is in a place of peace. Help us to honor her memory through our actions and keep her spirit alive in our hearts. Guide us in living a life that reflects the values Laurel cherished. And so it is. Amen.
You're invited to sing along to this song if you know it, or you can just imagine that it's Laurel singing this to you. May the good Lord bless and keep you, whether near or far away. May you find that long-awaited golden day today. May your troubles all be small ones, and your fortune 10 times 10. May the good Lord bless and keep you till we meet again. May you walk with sunlight shining and a bluebird in every tree. May there be a silver lining back of every cloud you see. Fill your remind what might have been. May the good Lord bless and keep you till we meet again. May the good Lord bless and keep you till we meet again.
For a variety of snacks and who knows what. So please join everyone over there and share memories of Laurel.